I only realized after I woke up. It turned out I was the bootlicker, fool male supporting character in a female-oriented novel. The heroine both despised me, a rich son who only lived off his family and waited to die, and at the same time comfortably enjoyed my family's resources. From a small-town striver, she rose step by step to become a well-known female entrepreneur. In the end, the heroine and the male lead met and played out scene after scene of tangled love and hate. And I was like a seasoning in their romance. Without my lubrication, their love seemed somehow imperfect. When the heroine married, I sank into gloom. After a car accident in Australia, my family background was exposed. I was denounced online by netizens. When the heroine found out, she even came to Australia to mock me coldly. Ultimately, I was abandoned by my family and forbidden to set foot back home. I, a respectable rich heir. You expect me to be the heroine's bootlicker? And to be a devoted, wealthy persona? Huh, I have money, but I'm not stupid. If you're rich, you can go after any woman you like, right? Why hang off that crooked tree of a heroine and fawn over her every day? The more I thought about it, the more ridiculous it seemed. Ethan, hurry and take me to meet Mr. Richard. At that moment, Sophia, next to me, spoke and broke my train of thought. I looked at Sophia in front of me and suddenly felt a little ridiculous. She put on elaborate makeup for today and wore the Chanel suit I'd given her last month, eyes sparkling with excitement. I looked down. On my wrist was the digital watch she'd given me last time. It felt absurd. When I first received that $500 digital watch, I was as happy as a 150-pound child. Now it just felt ironic, especially since she'd given Leo a luxury watch worth $100,000 as well, calling it a performance bonus. The biggest clients of the company were all people I introduced. Shouldn't the rewards have started with me? Later I learned that Leo was Sophia's childhood friend and white moonlight. They'd reunited not long ago and flirted with each other all day. I was the third wheel, always peeking at their happiness. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. The plot had already reached a business cocktail party. I brought Sophia and Leo along, planning to introduce more resources to them. With my background, people would at least show some face. Leo stood behind Sophia in a neat suit, a look of contempt for me all over his face. The two of them prided themselves on moral superiority and treated money like dung. Yet they comfortably rode in on my VIP invitation. I suddenly laughed. Mr. Richard? I slowly swirled the champagne in my hand. Which Mr. Richard? Sophia stamped her foot anxiously. The Richard from Davis Group. Didn't you say you knew him well? Leo sneered from the side. Sophia, I told you guys this rich kid is all talk and won't be of any help. I narrowed my eyes and studied the perfect couple. If I were still their bootlicker, I'd have gladly hustled them over to meet him without delay. But now I wasn't. Why should I introduce resources to these grateful-for-nothing people? Mr. Richard. I do know him well. I was just joking earlier. But since Leo says that, let him think I'm boasting. Either way, I can't really help. I tilted my champagne glass. The ice clinked crisply. Sophia's expression froze. She hadn't expected me to snap back like that. All this time, I'd catered to her every request. This was the first time I'd spoken to her like this. Leo immediately stepped forward, put himself in front of her. Ethan, what do you mean? Exactly what I said. I took a sip of my drink. My gaze slid past them to Richard, who was chatting not far away. Since you're already here in Mr. Richard isn't far. You can just go over and hand him your business cards. I put down my glass and turned to leave. Sophia grabbed my sleeve, her voice carrying a note that brooked no refusal. Ethan, what are you doing? Didn't we agree? Leo grew anxious too. Sophia, don't plead with him. We'll find another way ourselves. I gently shook her hand off and looked at her with a half smile, half sneer. Sophia, look, it's not that I don't want to help you. It's that Mr. Leo refuses. He's always deliberately opposing me. Who knows what his motives are? Sophia's face went deathly pale in an instant. She shot a glare at Leo. Leo didn't mean it like that. But Leo dragged her behind him and glared at me. Ethan, don't stir up trouble here. I shrugged and started to walk away. Wait. Sophia suddenly raised her voice, drawing a few glances from around us. She hurried to catch up and lowered her voice. Ethan, don't be upset with Leo right now. He's anxious too. The company is at a critical time, and we need to expand channels. If things go well tonight, I promise to have dinner alone with you. I sneered inwardly, classic heroine move. That reward was practically the ultimate prize for a simp. I pretended to hesitate for a moment, then nodded. All right then. But I have one condition. Tonight you have to be my date, holding my arm the whole time. I deliberately raised my voice a few degrees so Leo could hear. True to form, Leo's face went ashen and his fists clenched tight. He lunged forward, grinding his teeth and growling. Ethan, don't go too far. You're just a guy with some lousy money. Big deal. Even though you've helped Sophia a lot, she's where she is today because of her own ability. What right do you have to demand she hold your arm all night? You're nobody to her. I raised an eyebrow and looked at him with disdain. Leo had some ability, but he was still just an employee. When they first met, he learned that Sophia had started her own company. Without a word, he brought the sales team from his old company to join hers. From a low-level manager, he rose quickly, eventually securing a vice president position. The company progressed rapidly, and anyone who didn't know better would think it was all his doing. But he knew the truth. Most of the company's business lately had come from me. He had nothing to do with it. So he always, whether intentionally or not, spoke ill of me and opposed me to prevent Sophia from relying on me for some reason or even falling for me. In short, he was an incompetent man with an inflated ego, a high-level loser. I sneered, if it weren't for me, where would Sophia's startup funds have come from? Without the resources I introduced, do you really think you could have become this company's vice president so easily? I've invested so many resources in her over the years. What's wrong with asking her to be my date for one night? Leo looked like he might explode with fury. He feigned calm, smoothed his suit collar with disdain, and said, Sophia is where she is today because of her own hard work. With her ability, even without your help, she could have secured investment and eventually been just as successful. For you to use these small favors to coerce her into doing something she doesn't want is shameless. As expected, love makes one biased. Sophia listened to Leo with an admiring look. She probably thought the same, feeling that what Leo said fit her perfectly. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Sophia, you agree, right? Fine, I'll find a new date. Sophia's expression froze instantly. She hadn't expected me to turn and leave so decisively. Ethan, she hurriedly chased after me and grabbed my arm. What do you mean by that? I stopped and looked back at her. If you think you can succeed without me, then let's end it here. Leo immediately butted in. Sophia, don't beg him. We'll go talk to Mr. Richard ourselves. I sneered. Go ahead, try. With that, I walked straight to the sofa by the window of the party, leisurely sipping my champagne and watching the spectacle not far away. The view was excellent. The way Leo led Sophia toward Richard, full of confidence, was downright ridiculous. Who was Richard? A notorious smiling tiger in the business world. Polite on the surface, but he detested unsolicited approaches. You can't force your way into a circle that won't accept you. Sure enough, before Leo could finish his opening line, Richard frowned. Sir, do we know each other? His voice was just loud enough for a few people nearby to hear. Leo's face flushed bright red. Mr. Richard, sorry, I'm very busy right now. Richard cut him off and turned to leave. Sophia panicked and stepped forward. Mr. Richard, I'm Sophia. I'm Ethan's friend. At the sound of my name, Richard stopped and gave her a meaningful look. Oh, a friend of Mr. Ethan. He sized Sophia up and suddenly smiled. Mr. Ethan is sitting over there. Why didn't you come with him? The words felt like a slap, hard against their faces. Sophia bit her lip, too embarrassed to speak. Leo, however, wouldn't give up. Mr. Richard, our company has a project. Sorry, I'm not interested in your project. Richard's face turned cold and he walked away. I nearly laughed out loud. Is this the doing-it-yourself ability they bragged about? Richard, I called to him and raised my glass in a small gesture. Richard immediately put on a smile and came over. "Mr. Ethan, how's your old man doing lately?" I patted his shoulder casually. "Pretty good. Eats and sleeps well, looks healthier than me." I clinked glasses with him. Out of the corner of my eye saw Sophia and Leo standing not far off, their faces extremely sullen. They clearly hadn't expected me to be so close with Richard. "Mr. Ethan, who are those two?" Richard glanced meaningfully in Sophia's direction. I tilted my glass. The ice gave a crisp clink. "Just acquaintances, brought them along to see the world." "They didn't bother you, did they, Richard?" Richard's expression shifted to sudden understanding, and he lowered his voice. "Want me to help you? No need." I interrupted him. "Let them play on their own." At that moment, Sophia was already pulling Leo and coming toward us. She wore a forced smile, but her eyes were fixed on me. Richard gave a teasing grin and turned to leave. He walked a short distance away, appearing to talk with someone, but glancing back at us now and then. Sophia was about to speak. Leo stepped in front of her. No wonder he's the male lead. His presence was exceptionally strong. "Sophia, don't ask him for help. I just can't stand people like Ethan, always bullying others because of his connections, thinking money lets him do whatever he wants." I couldn't help laughing. "I'm not just rich. I'm an heir of a wealthy family, representing a top elite household. Leo, if you can't stand me, then don't look." I stood up and looked at him sharply. If I weren't trying to avoid trouble, I'd have slapped him already. To avoid unnecessary trouble, I decided to let him act up a little longer. But then again, "Mr. Leo, if you kneel and beg me, I wouldn't mind helping you and Mr. Richard make an introduction." "Ethan, you're insulting me. You think that without you Leo's face immediately flushed a dark red, his fists clenching audibly. Before he could finish, I raised a hand to cut him off. At that moment, Sophia also stepped forward. "Ethan, is that funny to you? It's not like she agreed to be your companion. Is it necessary to single us out like this?" Just as Leo said, "You're a useless playboy. I really misjudged you. If you don't apologize to Leo today, I won't ever talk to you again. And as an apology, you must introduce us to Mr. Richard." Anger finally showed on Sophia's face. She hadn't expected me to say something humiliating like making Leo kneel. I slowly stood up, looking down on the ridiculous pair. "Sophia." I waved my wine glass. The ice clinked crisply. "Aren't you mistaken about something?" She froze, clearly not expecting me to call her by name. "Me, Ethan Johnson, helping you is a favor. Not helping you is my right. By what authority are you bossing me around? The resources I've given you over the years would save you at least 20 years of effort. And now it's my fault. People should have a conscience." Leo sneered suddenly. "Weren't those resources all given voluntarily by you? Sophia never asked you for them." I almost burst out laughing. "Yes, I gave them voluntarily." I nodded. "Then I'll voluntarily take them back. Any problem with that?" Sophia went ashen instantly. "Ethan," she said, voice trembling, "are you threatening me?" "Think whatever you want." I shrugged. "Oh, in your company, starting tomorrow, pay your own rent. If you have to rely on yourselves, then start with paying rent." Leo immediately put himself in front of her. "Sophia, don't be afraid. We can manage without him." He reached to take Sophia's hand and prepare to leave. I snorted. "Are you really sure you don't need my help? If you're willing to apologize to me, I might consider continuing to help. You have exactly 3 minutes, no extensions." Leo struck what he thought was a suave pose and said with disdain, "We don't need handouts like that." Sophia turned and gave me a cold look. "Ethan, if you don't kneel and apologize to us, we're done with you." I gave a loud, emphatic clap. "Fine. It's a deal." What a double blessing today. Watching the two of them storm off in anger, I took out my phone and dialed the number. "Hello, Bill. Adjust the rent for Sophia's company's floor to market rate. Also, check their company's tax situation." After hanging up, I called a few of my old contacts one after another and cut off all the resources I had provided to Sophia. Just then Richard came over and raised an eyebrow. "What? Did you offend Mr. Ethan?" I swirled my glass. Some people should pay for their choices. By the way, Richard, you should probably get out while you can. Richard looked a little stunned by my words. In the original plot, tonight, I would introduce Richard to the male and female leads. But not long after the cooperation began, something went wrong. Richard's father had an accident, and a political scandal rocked Hampton State. Richard was eventually arrested. Because of that incident, Sophia lost a lot of money. They dumped all the blame on me and made me cover their losses. They even forced me to kneel and apologize. Ethan, what do you mean? You can't joke about that. Richard protested. I lifted a finger mysteriously and pointed upward. I'll stop now. How much you understand is up to your own aptitude, Richard. Don't. You want to tell me? Then let's go to a private room upstairs right now. I waved my hand and left the party. As for Richard, that was up to his own fate. The next morning, news related to me began circulating in the local business circles. After the party last night, Leo posted a sarcastic update on his overseas social account. Some people get arrogant because their families have a bit of filthy money and even dare to coerce a newly risen female entrepreneur. I hope everyone resolutely boycotts such tasteless, boundaryless rich second generations. He attached a photo of a back view from the party. He didn't name names, but everyone in the circle knew who he was talking about. I was scrolling my phone when Bill called. Mr. Ethan, the rent adjustment notice for Miss Sophia's company has been sent. Also, he paused. We didn't find anything wrong on the tax front. Do you want me to contact Thomas and have him run a full suite of inspections on the factories under Miss Sophia's company? Every check, nothing spared. I curl my mouth. Do it as you see fit. Better have Richard handle it. And give the bank a heads up as well. After hanging up, I found Sophia's overseas social account. She had posted an update. True strong people don't need to rely on anyone. Thanks to the partners who've stood by us, we will prove ourselves with strength. The picture was of her and Leo standing in front of the company entrance. I couldn't help laughing. What a perfect pair of characters. One fake sanctimony, the other genuine arrogance. Just then my phone vibrated. A message from Sophia. Ethan, I didn't expect you to be this kind of person. Since you chose to humiliate us this way, from now on, let's keep business and personal affairs separate. I hope you won't regret today's decision. I replied leisurely, don't worry. My only regret was meeting you. Then I blocked her. In the following days, I watched coldly as Sophia and Leo's struggles unfolded. First, several of the big contracts they bragged about fell through one after another. Those clients were contacts I had introduced, and of course they wouldn't cooperate with them anymore. Then multiple departments, the emergency management, market regulators, environmental protection, and so on, took turns stepping in. The factory is suffering terribly. A week later, Sophia's company began to show signs of a cash flow collapse. She finally couldn't hold back and came personally to block me outside my company building. When I stepped out of the elevator, she was standing in the lobby, her face considerably haggard. Ethan, she rushed up and stopped me. We need to talk. I raised an eyebrow. Miss Sophia, what's the matter? Do you find it fun to use these despicable tricks? Huh? Miss Sophia, I don't understand what you're saying. Pretend all you want. If it wasn't you, then who else? I put on a puzzled look and asked, what exactly happened? I really can't make sense of what you're saying. Sophia bit her lip, her eyes reddening. Ethan, are you still going to pretend? Clients canceling cooperation, a factory inspection that halted production, bank loans frozen. You dare say you didn't do this? Don't think I'll give in just because of that. Adversity only brings out people's potential. Without you, we'll manage just fine. I feigned surprise. Miss Sophia, to say such a thing, do I really have that much power? I'm not even from a top wealthy family. Besides, if you say adversity can bring out your potential, then what are you doing here? Just came by to tell me that. Her face went pale, then flushed. I just came for an explanation. Oh, an explanation. I snorted. The explanation is, before this they all treated you specially out of respect for me. Now that you don't need me, they don't have to give me face anymore. I think that's the reason. Other than that, I really can't think of any other cause. But let me make it clear. This wasn't done by me. I didn't do anything. Now it's time for you to show what you can do. Sophia's face went deathly white. She clenched her fists so tight her nails nearly cut into her skin. Ethan, stop being sarcastic. Our company got where it is today because of Leo and me. You think cutting off our resources will make us yield? Dream on. I calmly straightened my cuffs, a cold smile tugging at my mouth. Is that so? I'm looking forward to seeing your performance. She trembled with rage, but couldn't utter a word. They were ridiculous. Having ability doesn't automatically make you an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs need the ability to integrate and leverage resources, not just to manage a company. Under my resource support, you could tie a dog to the owner's chair and it'd perform at their level. At that moment, Leo suddenly rushed in. Sophia, don't beg him. He pulled Sophia behind him and glared at me. Ethan, do you think using such low tactics will crush us? I'm telling you, we've solved all the problems. I just secured a new client. We don't need your resources. We can make it on our own. Also, I negotiated a loan. Without you, we can still succeed. Sophia's eyes lit up. Really? Leo shot me a smug glance. Of course. It's an overseas major client. An order worth $100 million. He puffed out his chest and continued proudly. The bank said if we mortgage the factory and equipment, they'll lend us $70 million. I nearly laughed aloud. That was Richard's overseas company, one that specialized in foreign trade. Is that so? Then congratulations, I said with heavy meaning. I hope you have a pleasant cooperation. Sophia, let's go. Watching the two of them swagger away, I smiled and got into my Rolls Royce. 3 days later, I received a call from Richard. Mr. Ethan, those two are hilarious. He was laughing breathlessly on the other end. Leo came over with the contract to sign it, and when he saw the terms, he was stunned. I took a sip of tea. What happened? The contract stipulates that the urgent orders must be delivered on time. If they fail, they owe $50 million in liquidated damages. That idiot actually signed it. Ha ha ha. I curled my lips. When is delivery scheduled? In a month, Richard smirked. I've already notified the relevant departments. After hanging up, I opened the overseas social app. Sophia had just updated a post. Heaven rewards the diligent. The company has a major breakthrough and is about to enter the international market. Thanks to all partners who fought alongside us. The picture was of her and Leo toasting. I like the post. Recently, Sophia and Leo's relationship had been heating up. They posted official photos on the overseas social app. With $70 million in the bank, they'd resolved part of their funding pressure. The factory was buzzing with activity. Due to rising rent, the office had been moved into the plant, sharing space with the factory's administrative department. They even posted about making the best of a tough situation. It seemed like everything was moving in a good direction, but the good times didn't last long. Not even half a month later, the factory was ordered to suspend production for a week for rectification because it failed fire safety and environmental protection standards. When the news of the factory shutdown reached me, I was on a golf course with Richard and a few friends in the circle. Mr. Ethan, I heard Sophia's factory was sealed? A friend asked with a wicked grin as he swung. I leisurely put on my sunglasses. Fire hazards. Those inspections are warranted. Richard, remember, $50 million in liquidated damages. You have to give me half. That's a given, Mr. Ethan. You've helped me so much. This small amount is nothing. I smiled without replying, and my phone suddenly vibrated. It was an unknown number. Hello. I answered lazily. Ethan. Sophia's hysterical voice came through. Are you trying to finish us off? I signaled to my friends to keep playing and stepped aside. Miss Sophia, what do you mean by that? Don't play dumb. Her voice was choked with tears. The factory was suddenly inspected. Wasn't that your doing? We had no fire safety issues at all. Oh, I raised an eyebrow. Then why were you ordered to suspend production? There was a few seconds silence on the other end. Then Leo's roar. Ethan, you despicable man. If you've got the guts, come after me. Don't make things hard for Sophia. I laughed softly. Mr. Leo, you need to speak with evidence. Your factory was inspected. What does that have to do with me? Who else could it be besides you? Sophia screamed. You just can't stand to see us do well. I spoke slowly. Sophia, you can eat food carelessly, but you can't speak carelessly. Then I hung up, as if I'd admit to doing something bad. Would I leave you a handle to seize? Richard had already transferred assets overseas in advance. He was currently vacationing in Australia. His father had been moved into the Quinton Sanatorium. Under Thomas's full control, Teon County had changed. Without Richard's pressure, Sophia finally breathed a sigh of relief. But it was only pressure from the regulators. The factory resumed work after a week-long shutdown for rectification, but the best production period had already been missed. The workers put in overtime to catch up, yet still couldn't finish the orders on time. Now the contract was facing breach. I sat in the office, reading the latest message from Richard. Mr. Ethan, they really can't deliver the goods. I prepared the lawsuit documents. I deleted the message without replying. Sophia's company had completely fallen into ruin. Utility bills from the factory, bank collection notices, clients' termination letters, they came flying in like snowflakes. Sophia and Leo finally couldn't sit still. Sophia, you have to think of something. This is your company. Leo looked at Sophia with urgency. Sophia suddenly swept the papers off her desk to the floor with a loud crash. Enough. She glared at Leo with reddened eyes. What's the use of saying that now? If you hadn't insisted on taking that rush order. No, Sophia, I agreed to it for the good of the company. Who could have known all this would happen afterward? Leo hurriedly defended himself. So what do you propose we do now? If we hadn't taken that order, shutting down would have left us with some money. If we can't resolve this now, I'll be in huge debt. Sophia was clearly in severe pain and spoke with agitation. At the thought of owing a large sum, Leo grew nervous. His voice unconsciously rose. Sophia, you're the owner. If you don't figure it out, what's the point of asking me? The employees in the office stopped their work and peeked over. Sophia looked up sharply, staring at Leo in disbelief, as if seeing him for the first time. What do you mean? Now that things have gone wrong, you're refusing to take responsibility? Who was so full of confidence back then, claiming by their own ability they could help run the company? Who swore if you were here, this company would reach new heights? If it weren't for you, would I have ended up like this? If it weren't for you, Ethan wouldn't have abandoned us. Leo's face went pale instantly. He took a step back, his voice shaking. Sophia, how can you say that? I did it for your own good. Looking at the man before her, Sophia suddenly felt a surge of inexplicable anger. How can you be so utterly spineless? How could I have been so blind to fall for a man with no real ability, just full of show? Let's break up. You truly disgust me. The atmosphere in the office froze to the extreme. In the end, the two had a loud quarrel. Leo, determined to act, planned to use the only funds left in the account to pay his sales team's salaries first. Then the finance department betrayed him and informed Sophia. The two instantly became a pair of resentful spouses and began to hurt each other. Sophia tracked me down through various contacts. I frowned and said, "Why are you coming to me now instead of staying at the factory to deal with the mess?" Sophia's eyes brightened. "Ethan, I knew you still care about me. You've been keeping an eye on my situation, haven't you? Actually, I've always known you liked me, but I'm slow to warm up and hurt your feelings. So that's why you treated me like this, right? Because you saw me getting close to Leo, you left me, didn't you?" I almost laughed at the way her mind worked. "Miss Sophia, aren't you misunderstanding something? I have no interest in your company, and even less interest in your love life. If there's nothing else, then please leave quickly. I have other things to do and can't keep you company." Sophia's expression changed slightly, and she revealed a sweet smile. All right, don't be angry. Leo and I have broken up. I'm single now. You don't need to purposely keep your distance from me anymore." I sneered and slammed the file in my hand shut. "Sophia, are you mistaken about one thing?" The smile on her face froze. Ethan Johnson, helped you before because I wanted to. Now I don't help because I choose not to. This is how we rich people live, plain and simple. As for whether you and Leo split, I stood up and looked down at her. What's it to me? Sophia looked at me helplessly, yet confidently. I know you've been angry with me. I was wrong before. I shouldn't have treated you that way. I'm apologizing now. From now on, let's give each other a chance, okay? It's not that I don't know how to control myself. It was simply beyond my imagination. I never realized Sophia was so self-deluded and bafflingly confident. Before Sophia could pounce, I slapped her across the face. I usually wouldn't hit a woman, but I couldn't restrain myself with someone this crazy. Sophia clutched her face, eyes wide in disbelief. You dare hit me? I shook my wrist and sneered. The blow's already landed. What's there to dare? Sophia's lips trembled, tears welling up in her eyes. That pitiful look used to make me willingly act like a simp. But now, I only found it laughable. Now, please leave, or else. Her tears finally fell. Do you have to be so heartless? I pressed the call button on the desk. Security, see her out. After Sophia left, Leo began a barrage of attacks on social media against me. Some rich, second-generation bully abuses his power to crush startups, exposing the ugly face of a rich kid. He even gave media interviews, tearfully denouncing my evil deeds. For a while, the internet was full of denunciations against me. I browsed those reports with interest. The next day, all negative reports about me had disappeared, as if they'd never existed. In their place was an in-depth investigative report, exposing goddess of startups Sophia, rising on sugar daddy support, turning her back on them. The article detailed how Sophia used benefactors' resources to get started and how she burned bridges afterward. Public opinion instantly flipped. Netizens denounced the pair as ungrateful scoundrels. 3 days later, Sophia's company utterly collapsed. Richard deducted the penalty for breach of contract. A $100 million overseas order left Sophia's company with only $35 million after price cuts. After paying wages and settling some payables, Leo ran off with the last of the working capital. The bank began liquidating assets. The once glorious female entrepreneur was now deeply in debt. In the end, the factory was seized by the bank, and she still owed over $40 million. I curved my lips and acquired the factory through the bank. I sold it again, making $65 million profit in and out. The factory initially valued at $135 million. At my suggestion, they had only been loaned $70 million, just to get back what was mine. After Richard moved the goods, $25 million quickly arrived in my overseas account. I was sitting on the private club's terrace, sipping an 82 Lafite, feeling incredibly relaxed. Sophia's call suddenly came through. It was an unknown number. Hello? On the other end, Sophia's voice trembled with sobs. Ethan, I know I was wrong. Please save me. I swirled my glass and said indifferently, Miss Sophia, did you dial the wrong number? Are we that close? Ethan, don't be like that. I know you still have feelings for me. She kept struggling. I hung up immediately and blocked the number. My phone rang again. It was the old man's call. Although this time things were done covertly, he must have noticed. On the line, George Johnson said calmly, That girl's Matterins here. Your identity is special. Don't give people any ammunition. Understood. I nodded. After hanging up, I took a deep breath. This time my caprice was tacitly permitted by him. After all, Sophia and Leo really went too far. Leo was foolish too. He took the $7 million and ran, but didn't leave the country at once. The police caught him in 2 days. When Sophia saw Leo, she bit off one of his ears. Just like that, the two of them landed in jail. A month later, I flew to Australia. What? I had changed the plot. How did the car accident still happen? My limited edition Rolls-Royce collided head-on with a Mercedes. It nearly cost lives. After spending $10 million to get bailed out, I still ended up on the country's trending searches, forcing the old man to pull out a few celebrity scandals to divert attention. I was also ordered not to return to the country for 3 years. To go abroad and reflect properly. George, I've got good news and bad news. Which do you want to hear first? I put down my paintbrush and looked at my friend Frank. He stood at the studio door with a mysterious air, his face a mix of nervousness and excitement. Let's start with the bad news. After all, I've gotten used to it these past 3 years. Your painting, Eternity, just sold for a sky-high price. Over $6 million. I frowned. How is that bad news? Frank chuckled. Because it's actually part of the good news. The bad news is, buddy, you might need to see a psychiatrist. What do you mean? A woman who looks exactly like Mary showed up at your art exhibition. I almost thought I was seeing a ghost. The paintbrush slipped from my hand and fell to the floor, splattering paint across the unfinished canvas. Mary, my late wife, died 3 years ago after accidentally falling off a cliff. I watched with my own eyes as her body was pulled from the water. In that moment, my world completely collapsed. Stop joking around, Frank. Why would I lie to you? She even left this. Frank handed me a note, with an address and a time written on it. My hand trembled slightly. The handwriting was exactly the same as Mary's. That night, I waited until midnight at the designated cafe. Just as I was about to leave, a familiar figure appeared at the door. Mary? No, it couldn't be her. But every gesture of that woman, from the tips of her hair to her fingertips, was a shadow of Mary. George, it's been a long time. She sat across from me, and the familiar voice nearly made my heart stop. Who are you? I struggled to remain calm. I'm Mary, your wife. She smiled and reached out her hand. There was a scar on her palm, the mark Mary got when she accidentally cut herself on glass at 15. Impossible. Mary is already dead. She laughed softly. That was just an accident. I fell off the cliff and was saved by a reclusive old doctor. I lost my memory from the injuries and only recently remembered everything. As she spoke, tears began to fall with an expression I knew all too well, the look Mary wore whenever she felt wronged. I know it's hard to believe, but I really am Mary. I couldn't believe my eyes. The shade of lipstick Mary loved most, the faint little mole beneath her left ear, the unconscious habit of rubbing her ring while speaking. Everything was so familiar. Are you really Mary? She nodded and took a small box out of her bag. This is the proof. Inside the box was the first piece of jewelry Mary ever designed. A sapphire ring, the only one of its kind, never mass-produced. I brought it with me that day because I wanted to surprise you. I suddenly stood up and pulled her into my arms. 3 years of longing surged over me like a tide. I held her tightly, afraid that if I let go, she would disappear again. On the way home, she told me about her experiences over the past 3 years. She was rescued by an old doctor in the mountains, lost her memory due to a severe head injury, and lived in a remote mountain village for more than 2 years. It wasn't until she happened to see a poster for my art exhibition that her memory gradually returned. The next day, I took her to see Frank. Oh my God, it really is you, Mary. Frank stared in astonishment, eyes wide. Frank, it's been a long time. She greeted him with a smile, exactly as I remembered. Frank pulled me aside and whispered, Man, this is unbelievable, but I really believe it's her. Who else but Mary could call me by my childhood nickname so accurately? That was something only the two of you knew. A week later, Mary officially returned. We held a small welcome party for her. Her mother was so overwhelmed that she fainted, and when she woke up, she clung to her daughter and refused to let go. But that night, I noticed the first sign that something was off. Mary never ate mangoes because she was severely allergic. Yet the returned Mary absent-mindedly tasted a mango dessert and was perfectly fine. Aren't you allergic to mangoes? I asked. She paused for a moment, then quickly laughed and said, Oh, that old Chinese doctor cured my allergy. He's really amazing. I nodded, but in my heart, I marked the first question mark. Is this really my wife? A month passed quickly, and Mary blended perfectly into our lives. She knew the location of every item in the house, remembered our shared memories, and could even accurately name friends we hadn't contacted in years. But those subtle feelings of discord kept growing. For example, the real Mary liked to listen to classical music, especially Debussy, while designing jewelry. But she would always unconsciously hum along to pop songs. Mary always habitually used her left hand to hold chopsticks, even though she knew it was wrong. She just couldn't change. But she was a standard right-handed user. The most obvious difference appeared that night when I accidentally caught her smoking in the bedroom. The real Mary hated the smell of smoke. Even when I came home from social events with a faint scent of cigarettes, she would frown. When did you start smoking? I stood at the doorway, my voice soft. She was clearly startled, hastily snuffing out the cigarette. This is a herbal cigarette for treating insomnia, prescribed by an old Chinese doctor. I nodded, not pressing further, but the doubts in my heart only grew deeper. The next day, I went to find Frank. Help me check if, in the past 3 years, plastic surgery technology has advanced enough to achieve this level. Frank's eyes widened. You mean, she's not Mary? I'm not sure, but there are always some things that don't add up. 2 days later, Frank brought news. High-end plastic surgery can make faces look similar, but it can't replicate the exact placement of scars or moles. And there's a limit to how well someone can imitate a voice. What if it was a twin? Frank shook his head. Mary is an only child. We all know that. I decided not to show my feelings for now and to keep observing. A week later, Mary's mother came to my house with astonishing news. George, Mary is going to have a baby, my mother-in-law told me excitedly. I stood there stunned. Before we got married, Mary had been diagnosed with uterine hypoplasia. The doctor had made it clear she could never get pregnant. This was our shared secret. Not even my mother-in-law knew. How do you know that? I managed to ask. Mary told me this morning. She said she already had a checkup. It's been 2 months. My mother-in-law happily grabbed my hand. It's a blessing from above. Mary survived death, and now she can bring us new life. My heart sank to the bottom. This absolutely could not be Mary. That night, I dug out the hospital's diagnosis certificate in my study, which clearly stated the condition of Mary's uterus. But when I wanted to talk to Mary about it, I found her in the bedroom, excitedly discussing the decoration of the nursery with my mother-in-law. Mary, could you come here for a moment? I called her calmly. She followed me into the study, still wearing a blissful smile on her face. Did you forget about this? I handed her the diagnosis certificate. She took it and glanced at it, her face instantly turning pale. George, I can explain. Explain what? Explain that you're not Mary at all. Mother-in-law heard the commotion and walked in. What's going on with you two? Mom, take a look at this. I handed her the proof. My mother-in-law read it, then looked at Mary in astonishment. What's going on? Mary, you can't have children. Of course she can, I sneered, because she's not Mary at all. My mother-in-law's face changed dramatically. What nonsense are you talking about? I can explain. She hurriedly grabbed my mother-in-law's hand. That old Chinese doctor not only saved my life, but also cured my uterine problem. It's a miracle, truly. My mother-in-law looked at me, then at her, hesitating. George, you're being too paranoid. My mother-in-law finally took her daughter's side. Mary has come back with great difficulty. You should cherish her, not doubt her. Yes, George, I know this is hard to accept, but miracles do happen. Tears welled up in her eyes. Haven't we always wanted a child? Now we can finally have our own baby. I looked at her face, identical to Mary's. Yet I became more certain in my heart. This woman was not my wife. All right, I believe you. I smiled, deciding to go along with their story for now. Let's wait together for this miracle to happen. That night, I secretly contacted a private detective. My mother-in-law gladly accepted her daughter's explanation, even suggesting she move in with us to take care of Mary during her pregnancy. Outwardly, I agreed, but inside I grew even more wary. This was no coincidence. There had to be some kind of plot. Mom, haven't you always lived in Haicheng? Won't it be hard to get used to living here? I probed cautiously. For my grandson, I'm willing to endure any inconvenience, my mother-in-law said firmly. I noticed a fleeting unnatural expression on Mary's face. Could the truth be connected to my mother-in-law? On the 3rd day after my mother-in-law moved in, I discovered more suspicious details. For example, the real Mary never drank coffee, but she and my mother-in-law often enjoyed it together. Also, Mary's favorite movie was Roman Holiday, but she claimed to prefer Titanic. The strangest thing is, Mary used to despise her cousin Tom when she was alive, but now he visits frequently and chats and laughs with Mary as if they're old friends. I told Frank about these discoveries. Buddy, things are getting more and more suspicious, Frank frowned. Are you sure you want to keep going like this? Why not just expose her directly? It's not the right time yet. I want to find out what they're really after. The private detective's investigation also made progress. The so-called old Chinese doctor who had saved Mary did not exist at all, and Mary's whereabouts over the past 3 years were completely untraceable. More importantly, the private detective uncovered a shocking fact during the investigation. Mary's cousin Tom was deeply in debt from gambling, and the painting Eternity under my name, worth over $6 million, was his only hope for quick cash. "They're after your painting," the private detective asserted, "and this fake Mary is likely a professional identity fraudster, hired to win your trust." I took a deep breath and decided to take the initiative. That afternoon, I pretended to go out, but secretly returned home and hid in the study. Sure enough, Mary and her cousin Tom were whispering to each other in the living room. "It's taking too long," Tom said irritably. "How much longer until he sells the painting?" "Don't worry," she soothed him. "I'm already pregnant, and now he completely believes I'm Mary. In a little while, I'll say I want to move to a better neighborhood for the sake of the baby, and then we'll naturally need to sell the painting to raise money." "You're really pregnant?" "That wasn't part of the plan. It was an accident, but it works to our advantage. George wants a child so badly." "Does Annie know the truth?" "She only knows we're trying to scam money, not the specific plan. But she hates George, thinks he caused her daughter's death, so she's more than happy to help." I clenched my fists. So my mother-in-law had always believed that Mary's accident was somehow my fault. In fact, we did argue over something trivial that day, and Mary stormed out in anger. I didn't try to stop her. But I never imagined it would be the last time I'd see her. "You don't actually have feelings for George, do you?" Tom suddenly asked. She was silent for a moment. "It's just part of the job. Besides, I owe you, and I won't go back on my word." "Good then. Don't forget how we're splitting the money once we get it." Their conversation confirmed my suspicions. This was all an elaborate scheme, with my eternity as the target. In the days that followed, I pretended everything was normal while secretly making preparations. I contacted the police, arranged for evidence-gathering equipment, and found the last piece Mary had left before she died, a silver necklace that had never been made public, engraved with an anniversary date only the two of us knew. 2 weeks later, my art exhibition was held as scheduled. As planned, Mary brought up the idea of moving, hinting that I could sell Eternity. I pretended to agree and said I would auction the painting on the last day of the exhibition. "This is a surprise I prepared for you," I said on the eve of the exhibition, taking out a delicate box. "To celebrate the new life we're about to begin." She opened the box in surprise, and inside was the silver necklace. "It's beautiful, thank you." She smiled as she prepared to put it on. "Wait," I stopped her. "Aren't you going to look at the engraving on the back?" She turned the necklace over, and her face suddenly went pale. "What's wrong? Don't you like it?" I asked, feigning ignorance. "No, I really like it. It's just, I'm a bit moved." She forced a smile, but didn't know how to explain that she couldn't recognize the significance of that date. "See you tomorrow. Get some good rest, and don't forget to wear this necklace." I kissed her forehead and whispered in her ear, "After all, this is your final design." Her body visibly stiffened for a moment, but she kept smiling. "Of course, I cherish it very much. Tomorrow, the truth will come to light." On the day of the exhibition, the place was packed with people. My painting, Eternity, was displayed in the most prominent spot, right next to the last batch of jewelry designs Mary had created before her death. Mary held my arm, flawlessly playing the role of my wife as always. She had even gone out of her way to wear Mary's favorite white dress and the silver necklace I had given her last night. My mother-in-law and Tom were there too. The three of them exchanged glances from time to time, clearly waiting for the perfect moment. Frank appeared as planned, pretending to be extremely interested in Eternity and asking me about the auction details. "The auction will begin promptly at 4 in the afternoon, I replied with a smile. "This painting means a great deal to me, and I hope it finds someone who truly appreciates it." Mary immediately chimed in. "Yes, although it's hard to part with it, this is a necessary decision for our future." I noticed she glanced at Tom, who gave a barely perceptible nod. At 3:30 in the afternoon, the projector in the center of the exhibition hall lit up. This was the special segment I had arranged. "Ladies and gentlemen, I stood in front of Eternity. Before the auction begins, I'd like to share a little story about this painting." Mary's photo appeared on the projection screen, a group picture from her last birthday party before she passed away. 3 years ago, my wife Mary died in an accident. I created this painting, Eternity, in her memory. The woman in the painting has her back to the viewer, forever gazing into the distance, symbolizing a longing I can never reach. A soft sigh rippled through the crowd. Mary stood beside me, matching my words with a sorrowful expression. However, a month ago, a miracle happened. I turned to look at Mary. My wife came back. The whole room erupted in astonishment, and many people curiously sized up, Mary. This is my wife, Mary. I took her hand and stepped forward. Back from the dead, it's truly the greatest blessing heaven could have given me. She smiled and nodded to everyone, while my mother-in-law and Tom stood by with smug expressions. However, my tone suddenly shifted. Amidst my joy, a question arose. Is she really Mary? The entire room fell silent. Mary's hand trembled slightly in my palm. So, I did some investigating. The projector switched to a set of comparison photos. On the left was the real Mary. On the right was a photo of her. They look exactly the same, don't they? But I clicked the remote, and the photo was enlarged, the details highlighted. The position of the piercing on the left ear was slightly different, the arch of the eyebrows subtly varied, and the fine lines at the corners of the eyes ran in different directions. These are details that even professional plastic surgery cannot fully replicate. Mary tried to pull her hand away, but I held on tightly. My mother-in-law and Tom also began to grow anxious, glancing toward the exit. More importantly, the real Mary has a feature that cannot be copied. I turned to Mary. The necklace I gave you last night has a date engraved on the back. Can you tell everyone what that date is? She opened her mouth, but no words came out. That was the due date of our first child, the one we lost. I spoke softly, my voice trembling with emotion. Mary designed this necklace to commemorate the baby we never got to meet. The date was our secret, only Mary and I knew. The room fell utterly silent. Mary turned deathly pale, my mother-in-law's eyes widened, and Tom had already started edging toward the door. What surprised me even more, I continued, was that the real Mary could never get pregnant due to an underdeveloped uterus. Yet this, Mary claims she's already 2 months along. I let go of her hand and took a step back. So, who are you really? A flicker of despair flashed in Mary's eyes, but she quickly regained her composure. I am Mary, it's just that old Chinese doctor. The non-existent old Chinese doctor, right? I sneered. Just like the non-existent amnesia, the non-existent miraculous recovery. I turned toward the projection screen. Let's see the truth. The screen played the secretly recorded video of her conversation with Tom, their discussion on how to swindle eternity, clearly audible. This isn't. She tried to explain, but my mother-in-law had already rushed forward. Who are you really? My mother-in-law screamed. You're not my daughter? Auntie, stop pretending, I said calmly. You know she's not Mary. You just wanted to get back at me, didn't you? My mother-in-law's face turned pale. I didn't know she was going to impersonate Mary. Tom just said he needed help to scam some money. Police. Don't move. Several plainclothes officers emerged from the crowd, blocking Tom as he tried to escape. Amid the chaos, Mary took the opportunity to shove me aside and run toward the exit. I chased after her and caught up in the parking lot. Tell me, who are you really? She finally stopped, turned to face me, tears welling in her eyes. My name is Luna. I'm an actress. Tom found me and said if I helped trick you out of a painting, he'd give me $1 million. I needed the money for my sister's medical treatment. Why did they choose me? Why Mary? She shook her head. I don't know. They gave me a lot of information, photos, videos, even your chat logs. I was just following the script. The police arrived and took her away. I stood where I was, gazing at the distant sky, my heart a tumult of emotions. Back in the exhibition hall, the crowd had already dispersed, leaving only Frank and a few police officers. It's all been cleared up, Frank walked over. Tom owed money to loan sharks and was desperate. Your mother-in-law always resented you for not saving Mary, so she helped them plan the whole thing. I walked up to eternity, gently caressing the back of the woman in the painting. Mary, I can finally give you an answer. The police left with the evidence. Frank patted me on the shoulder. What do you plan to do next? I took a deep breath. Prepare for the final painting. What will it be called? The Pursuit, I said softly. This time, I'll paint her face, not just her back. After the case was solved, my life seemed to return to where it was 3 years ago. Eternity was temporarily held by the court as crucial evidence. Tom and Luna were arrested for fraud, and my mother-in-law was investigated as an accomplice. The prosecution wants you to testify in court, the officer called to inform me. The trial is scheduled for early next month. I agreed, though I was utterly exhausted inside. After exposing the deception, I thought I would feel the thrill of revenge, but what I felt instead was a profound emptiness. Those days spent with Mary that month had allowed me to feel a trace of warmth in life again, even if that warmth was born of lies. Frank often came to see me, worried I might fall into despair once more. I told him not to worry, that I was working on a new piece, The Pursuit. Are you really going to paint Mary's face from the front? Frank asked curiously. For the past 3 years, you've always refused to do that. It's time, I replied. We can't live in the past forever. I moved out of the apartment I had shared with Mary and returned to the old house in the suburbs, the place where the real Mary and I had first made our home. The dust-laden memories in the house brought me both pain and comfort. Mary's studio remained just as she had left it, design sketches scattered across the table, unfinished jewelry drafts pinned to the drawing board. One afternoon, while sorting through Mary's belongings, I discovered an encrypted external hard drive. After several attempts, I finally unlocked it using our wedding anniversary as the password. Inside were backups of Mary's design works, along with some personal photos and videos. One folder in particular caught my attention. Inside a folder named Plan was a series of jewelry design sketches, labeled George's Birthday Special Project. It was then I remembered that, in the months before Mary passed away, she often spoke mysteriously about giving me an unparalleled birthday surprise. Leafing through these design drafts, I couldn't help but be moved to tears. Mary had planned to design a jewelry collection inspired by my paintings over the years, with each piece corresponding to a representative work from my artistic career. The last page was a sketch of a ring, with a dark red stone set in the center, its edges adorned with tiny diamonds, closely resembling the sunrise in my early work, Dawn. This is blood amber? I examined the notes carefully, confirming the name of this rare gemstone. Mary's designs had always been bold, but blood amber is extremely rare in the Chinese market, almost impossible to acquire. How did she obtain such a material? As I continued searching, I found a series of email correspondence screenshots. Mary had actually contacted a gemstone dealer in Myanmar, commissioning the blood amber specifically for this ring. The last email showed that the gem had already been shipped, but the date was exactly 1 week before Mary's death. I immediately called Frank. Help me check if there was a package sent from Myanmar 3 years ago, addressed to Mary. 2 days later, Frank brought news. The package did exist, but since no one signed for it, it was returned. However, according to the shipping records, it was resent a month ago, this time addressed to you. What? I was completely confused. I haven't received any package. Check your old apartment? Frank suggested. Back at my old apartment, the manager told me there was indeed a package, but it had been signed for by Mary. She said it was a surprise for you, so she didn't notify you, the manager explained. This meant Luna had taken the blood amber. I rushed to the detention center and requested to see Luna. Separated by glass, she looked much more haggard than the last time we met, but still wore that face so similar to Mary's. What are you doing here? She asked coldly. A month ago, you signed for a package from Myanmar. There was a blood amber inside. I want to know where it is. She looked surprised. How did you know? Tom asked me to sign for it. He said it was some precious gem. He took it. My heart sank. Tom was deep in gambling debt. A precious blood amber would be a windfall for him. He had probably sold it long ago. That blood amber is very important to me, I said softly. It was the last gift my wife left me. Luna was silent for a moment, then suddenly said, maybe it's not that bad. Tom said the stone has flaws, its value is greatly reduced, and he hasn't found a suitable buyer yet. Hope was rekindled. If Tom hadn't sold the blood amber yet, maybe there was still a chance to get it back. Do you know where he might hide it? Luna hesitated for a moment. He has a safe deposit box in a self-storage facility on the east side of the city. After getting the address, I immediately contacted the officer in charge of the case and explained the situation. Since Tom was involved in a large sum of money, the police quickly approved the search request. Mr. George, we've found the safe deposit box, the officer said over the phone. Inside, we did find the blood amber you described, as well as some other evidence. A few hours later, I retrieved the blood amber at the police station. It was even more beautiful than I had imagined. Within the dark red core, wisps of mist seemed to swirl, shifting strangely under the light. This was the birthday gift Mary had so carefully chosen for me, waiting for 3 years. Back home, I carefully placed the blood amber beside the canvas of the pursuit. The painting was already more than half finished, Mary's face emerging from the blur into clarity, yet it still felt like something was missing. Watching the blood amber glimmer faintly under the light, I suddenly understood how I should complete the painting. The creation of the pursuit entered its final stage. I decided to break convention and incorporate the blood amber into the artwork. This would not only be a portrait, but a hybrid piece that fused painting with the art of jewelry. Are you sure you want to do this? Frank frowned. That blood amber is priceless. That's exactly why, I said firmly. Mary chose it for me. She wanted to inspire an unparalleled masterpiece. I will fulfill her wish. For 2 whole weeks, I worked day and night, neglecting sleep and food. I cut the blood amber into thin slices and inlaid them at the spot of Mary's eyes on the canvas, making her gaze truly come alive. I used a special technique to blend the surrounding paint, creating a harmonious transition with the gemstone. From certain angles, the entire painting seemed to be imbued with life, and Mary's expression would shift depending on where the viewer stood. On the day I finished the piece, Frank brought news. Luna had been sentenced to 3 years in prison, but due to her good attitude in confessing, she might serve only a year and a half. Tom, involved in multiple fraud cases, was sentenced to 7 years. My mother-in-law, as an accomplice, received a suspended sentence. The case is finally over, Frank said. Are you planning to exhibit your painting? Yes. Next month there will be a solo exhibition at the National Art Museum, and The Pursuit will be the grand finale. The curator couldn't stop praising this piece, believing it represents the innovative direction of contemporary art and marks the pinnacle of my career. Indeed, this painting, which incorporates Mary's jewelry design concepts, is in some sense a creation we made together. On the eve of the exhibition, I checked the arrangement in the gallery alone one last time, making sure every piece was perfectly lit and positioned. When I reached The Pursuit, I couldn't help but stop and gaze at it. Mary's face was vividly lifelike, her eyes inlaid with blood amber gleaming under the spotlight, as if she were smiling at me. For the first time in 3 years, I faced her directly, no longer painting only her back. Mr. George, a stranger's voice called from behind. Sorry to disturb you, but the gallery has been cleared. He turned around to see a young woman dressed in the museum's staff uniform. And you are? I'm the new curator, responsible for security in your exhibition area, she explained with a smile. I really like your work, especially this piece, The Pursuit. Thank you. I nodded. I'll be leaving soon. She didn't leave, but continued to gaze at the painting. That red gem is beautiful, almost as if it's alive. It's blood amber, I explained, a very rare gemstone. I know, she said softly. Top-grade blood amber from Myanmar, containing plant fossils, extremely rare. I looked at her in surprise. You know a lot about jewelry? She smiled. I study jewelry design. I'm just working part-time here. For some reason, Mary suddenly came to mind. She, too, had an almost obsessive passion for and expertise in gemstones. If you don't mind me asking, who is the woman in this painting? She asked. My wife, I replied. She passed away 3 years ago. She was a jewelry designer. I'm very sorry, she said sincerely, then gestured toward the blood amber. This gem must mean a great deal to you. It was the last birthday gift she chose for me before she died, but I only found it recently. She nodded thoughtfully. Setting it into her portrait is the best way to remember her. For some reason, talking with this unfamiliar woman brought me a strange sense of calm. Perhaps it was her love for jewelry that reminded me of Mary. Sorry, I have to continue my rounds. She glanced at her watch. See you tomorrow, Mr. George. See you tomorrow, I replied, watching her leave. On the way home, I felt an unusual peace. The completion of The Pursuit seemed to mark the end of my search for Mary as well. Not forgetting, but remembering her forever in another way. The next day, the exhibition's opening ceremony attracted numerous figures from the art world and the media. The Pursuit undoubtedly became the center of attention, with people marveling at this innovative form of artistic expression. Amid the crowd, I noticed that curator standing aside, watching as well. Sunlight streamed through the skylight of the gallery, falling upon her, and for a fleeting moment, I thought I saw Mary's shadow. No, I shook my head, warning myself not to be deceived by mere resemblance. There would never be another Mary in this world, just as there would never be another unique blood amber. After the exhibition, The pursuit was purchased by an anonymous collector for an astronomical price. I donated all the proceeds to a foundation supporting students in jewelry design, establishing a scholarship in Mary's name. Life slowly moved forward, and I began to accept new commissions and create new works. Occasionally, I would think of that curator with a unique insight into jewelry, wondering if she was still working at the art museum. Until one day, I received an email from HL. There were no words, only an image. A sketch of a ring design, the style strikingly similar to Mary's unfinished series. My heart raced as I replied immediately. Who is this? The response came quickly. Yesterday, you brushed past me by the cafe on the street corner, but you didn't recognize me. If you want to know more, wait for me at the museum entrance at noon tomorrow. Is it that librarian? How could she have a design so reminiscent of Mary's style? Filled with anxiety and anticipation, I decided to accept the invitation and find out for myself. The next day at noon, I arrived at the art museum half an hour early. The sun was shining, and small groups of visitors were coming and going from the exhibition hall. But there was no sign of the mysterious person. Just as I began to suspect this might be some kind of prank, a faint trace of perfume drifted by, a scent unfamiliar to me, yet it inexplicably reminded me of Mary. Mr. George, thank you for coming. The voice behind me made me turn around. It was the curator. Today, she wasn't wearing her uniform, but a simple white dress, completely different from Mary's style when she was alive. Did you send the email? I asked directly. She nodded. There are some things I want to tell you, but not here. Will you come with me? We walked through the small park beside the art museum and arrived at a secluded cafe. The whole time, I kept observing her. Her mannerisms, the way she walked, none of it resembled Mary. Yet her sensitivity to detail and her focused attention gave me a strange sense of familiarity. Who are you, really? The moment we sat down, I couldn't wait to ask. My name is Nicole. She looked me straight in the eye. I'm Mary's student. This answer caught me off guard. Mary had indeed taught jewelry design part-time at the Design Academy before she passed away, but she had never mentioned having any particularly close students. I took her advanced design class the year before she passed, Nicole explained. Her guidance benefited me for a lifetime. That still doesn't explain why your designs resemble her style so much, I said, half convinced. Nicole took a folder out of her bag. These are all notes from Ms. Nicole's class and her feedback on my work. You can look at the handwriting and confirm that it's really hers. I carefully examined the materials. It was indeed Mary's handwriting. There were even traces of the pale purple ink she habitually used. Before Ms. Nicole passed away, she was guiding me on my graduation project, Nicole continued. The theme was interwoven light and shadow, blending Eastern and Western aesthetic elements. She gave me a lot of valuable advice, and even showed me a sketch from a private project she was working on at the time. George's special birthday project? I blurted out. Nicole's eyes widened in surprise. You know about it? I only found out recently. I briefly explained the origin of the blood amber. I knew that blood amber would eventually find its way back to you, Nicole said with a smile. Nicole always said it was a destined gift. Is that why you contacted me? Because you saw the blood amber? Nicole was silent for a moment, as if choosing her words carefully. Not entirely. After Nicole passed away, I've been trying to carry on the design philosophy she taught me. Some time ago, I happened to see the news about your eternity being stolen, and then I saw someone impersonating Nicole. I thought I should tell you a few things. She took a letter out of her bag. This is the last letter Nicole gave me after class before she passed away. She said if her surprise plan went smoothly, I should show you this letter. If anything went wrong and she was gone, I should still make sure you see it. I took the envelope. It was indeed Mary's handwriting, and it read, "To my dearest husband." The envelope had already been opened. I didn't know what was in the letter at the time. I just kept it as Nicole instructed, Nicole explained. It wasn't until I saw the news that I opened it. I hope you won't blame me. I carefully took out the letter paper and unfolded it to read. Dear George, if you are reading this letter, perhaps my surprise plan has gone awry. Don't worry, it's just that the plan has changed, and the form of the gift may be different now. The blood amber I picked for you is said to be known as the Eye of Rebirth. Legend has it that looking at the world through it reveals truths that are often overlooked. I hope it can become a turning point in your artistic career, leading you to see new possibilities. All these years, your paintings have always depicted backs, as if you're afraid to face something head-on. I hope this gemstone will give you the courage to paint the front, to capture true emotions. No matter what happens, please remember, love does not disappear, it merely changes form, like this blood amber, which, after millions of years, transforms from resin into a gem, yet still shines. Forever loving you, Mary. The handwriting became a bit messy at the end, as if written in a hurry. I stroked the paper, as if I could feel Mary's emotions at that moment. Thank you, I said, my voice choked with emotion. This means a lot to me. You're welcome. I'm just fulfilling Ms. Nicole's request, Nicole said with a smile. Actually, there's one more thing I'd like to ask your help with. What is it? I'd like to apply for the Mary Scholarship you established, she said, taking a design portfolio out of her bag. This is my graduation project, combining Ms. Nicole's ideas with my own innovations. As I flipped through the portfolio, I was surprised to find that while these designs bore traces of Mary's influence, they also possessed a unique style and innovative touches. In particular, a series called Metamorphosis cleverly combined jewelry with transformable elements, allowing the pieces to change form according to the wearer's mood and occasion. This is outstanding, I praised sincerely. Mary would be proud of you. A hint of joy flashed in Nicole's eyes. Really? I've always worried I couldn't live up to her expectations. You've already moved beyond the learning stage and developed your own style. That's exactly what she hoped to see. As we talked, sunlight streamed through the window and fell on Nicole. In that moment, I seemed to understand something. When Mary spoke of love changing its form, perhaps she wasn't just referring to the blood amber, but also to her passion for art and its legacy. Luna tried to impersonate Mary by mimicking her appearance, but she could never truly replicate who she was. Nicole, on the other hand, looked nothing like Mary, yet she inherited a part of her artistic vision and spirit. Perhaps this is the true gift Mary left me, not the blood amber, but a new possibility, a path out of the past. Nicole's graduation exhibition was held in a small gallery. Though the space was modest, it was exquisitely arranged. Her works were divided into 3 series, representing the past, the present, and the future, forming a complete narrative. This is a brilliant idea, I sincerely praised. From tradition to contemporary and then to the future, it showcases the evolution and possibilities of jewelry design. Nicole smiled and nodded. This was inspired by teacher Nicole. She always says that good design should look back at history, be grounded in the present, and look forward to the future. As I walked through the exhibition hall, I noticed a special display case in the corner, containing only one piece, a seemingly simple ring with a small red gemstone set in the center. This is. I leaned in to read the label, which said, in memory, dedicated to teacher Mary. Yes, I made it from a small piece of blood amber I bought with my own savings, Nicole explained. It can't compare to the quality of yours, but it's also from Myanmar. I examined the design of the ring closely. Clean, powerful lines with fine silver threads encircling the blood amber, as if protecting the central gem, yet also seeming to radiate light outward. This is very similar to Mary's final design style, I said softly, but it also has your own unique touch. I wanted to create a piece that could both commemorate teacher Nicole and showcase my own style, Nicole explained. The blood amber represents her influence, while the outer design is the direction of my own development. The exhibition attracted quite a few industry insiders, including some well-known figures from the jewelry design world. After viewing the exhibition, an older female designer approached Nicole and offered her an internship opportunity. I stood by, genuinely happy for Nicole. In the evening, as the exhibition was drawing to a close, Frank arrived as well. Seeing me with Nicole, he gave me a knowing smile. New friend? He asked me quietly. Mary's student, I explained simply. Very talented. Frank nodded without asking further questions. After touring the exhibition, he gave high praise to Nicole's work. It blends traditional and modern elements, demonstrating both technical skill and artistic expression, quite rare. Nicole thanked him politely. This wouldn't have been possible without the guidance of teacher Nicole and teacher George. After the exhibition, the 3 of us went to a nearby restaurant for dinner. During the meal, Frank talked about recent trends in the art market, while Nicole shared her insights on contemporary jewelry design. The conversation was light and pleasant, and I realized it had been a long time since I had relaxed and chatted with others like this. After a few rounds of drinks, Frank received an urgent call and left early. Only Nicole and I remained in the restaurant. and the atmosphere suddenly became a bit quiet. Mr. George, Nicole hesitated for a moment before speaking. I've always had a question I wanted to ask you. What is it? After you finished the pursuit, what are you planning to create next? The question caught me off guard. To be honest, ever since the pursuit, I haven't had any new inspiration. That painting seemed to have drained all my emotions and creativity. I haven't decided yet, I answered honestly. It might take some time to find a new direction. Nicole nodded thoughtfully. Nicole once said that the hardest thing for an artist isn't creating a stunning masterpiece, but finding a way forward after reaching the peak. She really did say that, I recalled with a smile. Mary always saw further than I did. Maybe, Nicole said softly, you could try a new direction that combines your work with jewelry design? Like in The Pursuit, but taking it even further. I recalled what Mary mentioned in her letter about seeing new possibilities, and suddenly I was inspired. You mean, creating a series of works that combine painting and jewelry? Exactly. Nicole said excitedly, your paintings create emotion in two-dimensional space, while jewelry gives it tangible form in the three-dimensional world. The combination of the two would have an astonishing effect. The more we talked, the more engaged we became, even sketching a few concept designs on the restaurant's napkins. Nicole's ideas were fresh and bold, perfectly aligning with my artistic vision, yet bringing a new perspective. As we left the restaurant, Nicole suddenly said, I have to confess something. I looked at her in confusion. I reached out to you not only to deliver Nicole's letter, but also for a personal reason. I hope to learn from you, she said candidly. I want to become a designer like Nicole, someone who not only creates beautiful works but also perfectly blends art with emotion. Her sincerity moved me. You're already on that path, and you're doing very well. Then, may I consult you often? She asked a little nervously. Of course, I'd be delighted. On the way home, a series of new works already began to take shape in my mind. A cross-disciplinary art that fuses painting and jewelry, both as a tribute to Mary and as a new starting point in my artistic career. That night, I had a dream. In the dream, Mary stood in a halo of blood-red light, smiling at me and saying, see, I knew you would find a new direction. When I woke up, I got out of bed immediately and began sketching for the new series. I decided to name it Rebirth. Not only representing the ancient life forever preserved in blood amber, but also symbolizing the rebirth of my artistic career, as well as the inheritance and development of Mary's artistic vision. A week later, I submitted a new series proposal to the gallery and received an enthusiastic response. The curator even suggested holding a special exhibition themed Between Dimensions, a dialogue between painting and jewelry. For this project, I invited Nicole to join the team as a jewelry design consultant. She had just graduated from design school and was both excited and nervous about the opportunity. Am I really up to the task? She asked me in the studio. You understand Mary's design philosophy better than anyone, I assured her. That's exactly what I need. In the days that followed, we worked at a feverish pace. We created during the day and discussed at night, sometimes even working through until dawn. Nicole's ideas flowed endlessly, and I transformed those thoughts into concrete artistic expressions. In the process, I rediscovered the pure joy of creation that I hadn't felt in a long time. One late night, when we finally finished the design for our first piece, Nicole clapped her hands excitedly. This is amazing. Teacher Nicole will definitely love it. At the mention of Mary, she suddenly realized her slip and looked at me nervously. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. It's all right, I said with a smile. I think Mary really would like it. She always hoped I could step out of my comfort zone and try new ways of expressing myself. Nicole let out a sigh of relief, then hesitantly asked, Professor George, may I ask you a personal question? What is it? When you faced the woman impersonating Professor Nicole, how did you see through her? I mean, from the news reports, she seemed like an exact copy of Professor Nicole. I pondered for a moment. Superficial resemblance is easy to achieve, but a true personality cannot be duplicated. Mary's perception of art, her attitude toward life, the way she handled details, these were all unique. Just like a work of art, Nicole mused, no matter how perfect a replica is, it can never capture the soul of the original. Exactly. We worked through the night again, and finally established the overall framework for the Rebirth series. 7 pieces, each blending elements of painting and jewelry, together telling a story of loss and recovery, death and rebirth. As our collaboration deepened, my relationship with Nicole gradually shifted from teacher and student to partners, both mentor and friend. Sometimes, when the light traced the gentle contours of her focused profile, I would unconsciously think of Mary. But soon, I realized that this association wasn't due to any physical resemblance, but rather that same dedication and passion for art. "George, you look much more spirited lately," Frank remarked at a gathering. "It's been a while since I've seen you so full of life." "Yeah, the new project has helped me rediscover the joy of creating." "Nicole's a good girl," Frank said meaningfully. "Talented, and she really understands you." I understood his implication, but just smiled without responding. There was indeed a special understanding between Nicole and me, but it was more rooted in our shared passion for art than anything else. At least for now. The creation of the Rebirth series took 3 months, longer than expected, but the results were stunning. Each piece was a perfect fusion of painting and jewelry art, offering both the pleasure of viewing as a flat image and the discovery of 3-dimensional effects brought by the jewelry elements from different angles. A week before the exhibition opened, I received an unexpected visitor, Luna. She had served her sentence and was released early. She looked much more haggard than the last time we met, but her eyes were clearer. "I came to apologize to you in person." She stood at the studio door, her voice low, "for everything I have done." I didn't respond immediately, but simply invited her in to sit down. "I know that an apology can't make up for the loss," she continued, "but I want you to know that I truly regret it." "How is your sister's illness?" I asked. She looked up in surprise. You know. I guessed. "You said you needed money for a reason, and I think that must have been true." "Yes," she nodded. "My sister's surgery was a success, and now she's fully recovered. For the past 3 years, I've been thinking about how to make up for my mistakes, even though I may never be able to." I was silent for a moment, then said, "You know, in a way, your appearance actually helped me." "What do you mean?" "It forced me to confront the past, to re-examine my memories with Mary, and ultimately to find a way forward." I pointed to the sketches of the Rebirth series on the wall and briefly explained this new project. Luna listened quietly, a look of genuine respect in her eyes. "I'm glad you were able to find a new beginning from that nightmare," she said at last. "I hope I can find my own path to rebirth as well." As she left, she handed me a small package. "These are some simple pieces of jewelry I made in prison. The craftsmanship is rough, but each one represents my remorse and blessings. I hope you can accept them." Opening the package, I found several small trinkets handmade from fine wire and colorful glass beads. Though simple, it was clear the creator had poured their heart into them. Nicole happened to come into the studio at that moment. Seeing the trinkets, she asked curiously, "What are these?" I told her about Luna's visit. "You forgave her?" Nicole was a bit surprised. "Not exactly forgiveness," I said thoughtfully. "It's more like understanding. Everyone has their own hardships and choices. What's important is how we learn and grow from our mistakes." Nicole nodded pensively, picking up a piece of jewelry to examine it closely. "The craftsmanship is rough, but the concept is ingenious. This person seems to have a talent for design." "Perhaps," I said. "Everyone has the possibility of being reborn." On the day of the exhibition opening, numerous figures from the art and jewelry worlds gathered together. The Rebirth series received unprecedented acclaim. Critics called it a model of cross-disciplinary art, and the gallery owner was overjoyed, announcing plans for a nationwide tour. In the crowd, I saw Luna. She was dressed simply, standing quietly in a corner, admiring the exhibits. Our eyes met in the air. She nodded slightly, then walked away. "Who was that?" Nicole asked, standing beside me. "Someone searching for rebirth," I replied. Nicole seemed to understand and asked no more. We stood side by side before the pursuit, watching the blood amber refract a strange light under the lamps, like the silent burning of life's flame. "Thank you," I whispered to Nicole. "Without you, this series might never have come into being." "It was your philosophy that guided us, Teacher Nicole," she replied modestly. "I was just fortunate enough to be the messenger." In that moment, I suddenly understood the true meaning of what Mary had written in her letter. Love has changed its form. Love exists not only in memory and longing, but also in inheritance and innovation. shining brightly in every spark of artistic creation. And I, at last, had learned how to begin anew after loss, to embrace rebirth while still searching. The success of the exhibition exceeded everyone's expectations. In just 1 month, the Rebirth series was reported on by major media outlets and even attracted the attention of the international art world. A renowned auction house extended an olive branch to me, hoping to include several pieces in their annual highlight auction. "This is an unprecedented opportunity," Frank said excitedly. "If the deal goes through, you'll become a top player in the contemporary art market." I wasn't particularly concerned with commercial success, but I did feel the joy of having my work widely recognized. More importantly, this series opened up a new artistic path for me, freeing me from the creative shackles of the past 3 years. Nicole benefited as well. As the project's jewelry design consultant, she received high praise from the industry. Several well-known jewelry brands reached out to her, hoping she would join their design teams. "Which offer are you planning to accept?" One night, as we were tidying up the studio together, I asked her. "To be honest, I'm still hesitating." Nicole paused her work. "These are all great opportunities, but what? But I want to keep working with you." She looked straight into my eyes. "Rebirth is just the beginning, isn't it?" Her candor surprised me a little. Indeed, the success of this series had opened up many new creative possibilities for us, but I wasn't sure if I should continue such a close working relationship. "You should consider your own career development," I said tactfully. "These opportunities are very rare for young designers." Nicole seemed to sense my hesitation and nodded gently. "I understand." In the days that followed, we were both busy and rarely had the chance to talk alone. A week later, Nicole told me she had decided to accept an invitation from a French jewelry brand and would be going to Paris to work for 2 years. "Congratulations," I said sincerely. "It's a very good choice." "Thank you," she replied with a smile, though a fleeting, elusive emotion flashed in her eyes. "I think this is the best arrangement for both of us." Before Nicole left, we held a small farewell party. Frank, the curator, and a few mutual friends came. The atmosphere was warm, tinged with a hint of sadness. After a few rounds of drinks, Frank found an opportunity to pull me aside. "Are you really going to just let her go like this?" "What do you mean?" I pretended not to understand. "Don't play dumb, man," Frank said bluntly. "You have feelings for her. That's obvious." "That's just professional rapport," I argued. "Is that so?" Frank looked at me meaningfully. "Then why have you been so distracted ever since she decided to go to France?" I was at a loss for words. In fact, these past few days I had indeed felt an inexplicable sense of loss, but I kept telling myself it was only because I had lost an excellent partner. "I know what you're worried about." Frank lowered his voice. "You feel like you're letting Mary down, don't you?" I remained silent. He had touched upon the deepest concern in my heart. "Mary has been gone for 3 years now." Frank gently patted my shoulder. "She would want you to be happy." After the party ended, I walked Nicole home. The night was tranquil as water, and the city lights flowed around us. "Thank you for your help and guidance these past few months." Nicole stopped at the entrance of her apartment building. "This experience has meant so much to me." "I should be thanking you," I said sincerely. "Without you, the Rebirth series would never have been completed." We fell into silence, as if both searching for the right words to say goodbye. "My flight is the morning after tomorrow," Nicole finally said. "I still have some things to take care of tomorrow. So, this is probably the last time we'll see each other. 2 years will pass quickly." I tried to make my voice sound light. "Paris is a beautiful city. You'll like it there." She nodded, a complex emotion flickering in her eyes. "Professor George, there's something I've always wanted to tell you, but never found the right opportunity." "What is it?" "I chose to study jewelry design because I saw Nicole's works." She took a deep breath, or more precisely, because I saw the pieces Nicole designed for you. The way she perfectly fused love and art moved me deeply. "I didn't know that," I said in surprise. "I've always hoped that one day I could be like Nicole, creating art filled with emotion." Nicole continued, her words coming faster, as if afraid she might lose her courage. "But now I realize that what I want even more is to create for a specific person, just like Nicole created for you." I understood her implication, and my heart suddenly began to race. "Nicole, please don't respond," she gently interrupted me. "I just wanted you to know before I leave. No matter how you feel right now, remember that starting over is not a betrayal of the past, but a way of cherishing life. With that, she rose up on her tiptoes and softly kissed my cheek, then quickly turned and walked into the apartment building, leaving me standing alone in the night, my mind in turmoil. After returning home, I tossed and turned, unable to sleep, replaying Nicole's words and that gentle kiss over and over in my mind. Suddenly, I remembered a small box in the study where Mary's last complete letter was kept, a letter I had found while sorting through her belongings. But at the time, overwhelmed by grief, I never had the courage to open. Now, I finally mustered the courage to walk into the study and retrieve that delicate little box from the depths of the drawer. Inside lay a pale pink letter, bearing Mary's familiar handwriting. Dearest George, by the time you read this letter, you may find yourself at a crossroads in life, hesitating between moving forward or staying where you are. My greatest wish is that you can move bravely through life, as freely as your brush glides across the canvas. Love is not a shackle, but a liberation. Memory is not a burden, but a source of strength. If one day you meet someone who can rekindle the light in your eyes, please don't hesitate because of your longing for me. True love is wishing happiness for the other, even if there is no longer a place for oneself in that happiness. Remember, the days we loved each other were complete, with no need for regrets. And now, it's time to paint a new picture, my beloved. Forever loving you. Mary. Tears blurred my vision. It was as if Mary had foreseen my current situation and had already given me her blessing. She was always like this, always able to see further and more clearly than I could. At that moment, I made up my mind. Early the next morning, I drove straight to Nicole's apartment. Professor George? Nicole opened the door in surprise, clearly not expecting me. I have something to say to you. I looked her straight in the eyes, not as your teacher, but as George. I handed her Mary's letter. Nicole read it carefully, her expression shifting from surprise to being moved, and finally, her eyes grew moist. She truly was an extraordinary woman, Nicole said softly, handing the letter back to me. Yes, she was. I nodded. That's exactly why I believe her words. Nicole, cancel your plans for Paris. Stay and continue our collaboration, will you? Nicole looked at me in shock. Are you serious? I've never been more serious, I said quietly. Rebirth is not just the name of an artwork, it's a possibility in life. Are you willing to explore that possibility with me? Her answer was a firm embrace, warm and real, like the first ray of sunlight after a long winter. In that moment, I felt as if Mary was somewhere, smiling down on us, blessing this new beginning. Life is like that blood amber, enduring countless ages of change and sedimentation, ultimately transforming into an eternal radiance. And I, at last, understood what true pursuit is, what true rebirth means. A year later, Nicole and I unveiled our second joint project, Interwoven, at the National Art Museum. This series was even bolder and more innovative than Rebirth, blending Eastern and Western aesthetics with various art forms. Critics hailed it as a significant breakthrough in contemporary art. At the opening ceremony, Nicole held my arm as we faced the media interviews and congratulations from the audience together. She wore a simple white dress, and around her neck was the Eye of Rebirth necklace we designed together. She completed the jewelry part based on my painting. Your collaboration seems even more in sync than your last project, a reporter asked with a suggestive smile. Nicole glanced at me, and we exchanged a smile. Yes, both in art and in life, we've found the perfect balance. This indirect answer drew a round of good-natured laughter from the reporters present. My relationship with Nicole was no longer a secret, but we always kept a low profile, letting the public's attention remain focused on our artistic creations. After the exhibition, we drove out to a small hill in the countryside. There stood an ancient oak tree, beneath which Mary's ashes were laid to rest. This was the place we chose, rather than a traditional cemetery, natural, peaceful, just like Mary herself. Mary, the exhibition was a great success today, I said softly to the stone beneath the tree. Nicole's designs were admired by everyone, just as you once predicted. Nicole crouched down and placed a bouquet of white daisies in front of the stone. Teacher Nicole, I've been working hard to become the kind of designer you hoped I would be. I hope you can be proud of me. A gentle breeze stirred, and the oak's leaves rustled softly, as if it were Mary's reply. On the way back, Nicole suddenly said, I've been thinking about something. What is it? If that woman who pretended to be Ms. Nicole hadn't appeared, you might never have found the blood amber, never created the pursuit, and we might never have met. Her words made me fall into deep thought. Indeed, It was the series of events triggered by that deception that ultimately led to everything now. It feels as if, in the unseen, some force has been orchestrating it all. Perhaps that's the irony of fate, I said softly. Sometimes, the worst beginnings can lead us to the best endings. When I returned home, I received an unexpected package. Upon opening it, I found a delicate little box containing a handmade ring. Though simple, the craftsmanship had improved greatly compared to the pieces I had seen before. There was a note attached. Mr. George, thank you for your kindness and understanding a year ago, which gave me the courage to start over. Now I have found a job at a small jewelry shop, and my life is gradually getting back on track. This ring represents my gratitude, and I wish you happiness and well-being on your new path. Luna, I handed the ring to Nicole. After examining it carefully, she remarked, her skills have improved a lot. She truly is talented. Some mistakes in life shouldn't become permanent scars, I sighed. Everyone deserves a second chance. That night, we sat in the studio, discussing ideas for the next series. Nicole suddenly proposed a bold idea. I was thinking, maybe we could try connecting the different stages of our work to create a complete narrative. From eternity to quest, then to rebirth, and intertwined, they're actually different phases in a person's life journey. You mean? A complete story about loss, searching, rebirth, and integration, she explained excitedly, ultimately asking what is the most precious treasure in life. Love. I finished her sentence. No matter what form it takes. Nicole nodded, her eyes sparkling with creative fire. We could call it the forms of love, an unprecedented artistic exploration. Sounds like a long-term, ambitious project. We have time, she smiled, holding my hand. We have so much time. In that moment, I felt a powerful surge of creative inspiration, just like when I first began my artistic career years ago, filled with passion and possibility. But this time, I was not facing the blank canvas alone. 2 years later, the Forms of Love series was exhibited simultaneously in the world's 5 greatest art museums, causing an unprecedented sensation. Critics called it a milestone in contemporary art history, blending painting, sculpture, jewelry design, and other art forms to create an entirely new artistic language. The final piece of the exhibition was titled Eternal Ring, a massive circular canvas depicting every form of love in life, familial, platonic, romantic, and the love for art itself. The edge of the canvas was inlaid with gemstones of various sizes, and under certain lighting, these gems would cast light onto specific parts of the canvas, revealing another hidden layer of patterns. The centerpiece of this work is a massive blood amber. Through intricate optical design, the light it projects perfectly outlines 2 embracing figures. One is Mary, the other is Nicole, symbolizing the intersection of past and present, the fusion of memory and rebirth. On the closing day of the exhibition, in front of the Eternal Ring, I knelt on one knee and proposed to Nicole. The ring was crafted from the very blood amber Mary had once prepared for me, designed by my own hand and fashioned by the finest jeweler. This ring carries the memories of the past and the hopes for the future, I whispered softly. Nicole, will you be the eternal ring in my life? Her tears sparkled under the spotlight. I will. Amidst the cheers, I remembered what Mary once said. Love does not disappear. It merely changes its form. Yes, love does not disappear. It exists in memories, in art, in every rebirth and new beginning. It traverses time and crosses space, like that blood amber which, after millions of years, still shines, forever retaining the original warmth and brilliance of life. This is the answer I have been searching for all along. Between loss and gain, between seeking and rebirth, love remains constant, only appearing in different forms along the journey of life. And all we need to do is bravely accept this gift, no matter how it comes to us. On the day of the wedding, the sky was a clear, washed blue. Beneath the ancient oak tree that had watched over Mary, we exchanged our vows. A gentle breeze stirred, making the leaves whisper as if blessings were drifting in from another world. No matter when or where, Nicole said softly, we'll always remember that it was she who brought us together. Yes, I squeezed her hand, and we will always cherish this gift. In the brilliant sunlight, the blood amber ring gleamed, radiant as life itself, enduring the passage of time, yet still shining bright.